Welcome to the Basu Lifestyle Show. This show is about learning what it takes to become a better version of yourself each and every day and building a superior you. This show is sponsored and being filmed at Wolf Fitness Gyms Northfield, and this is Tony, this is my co-host, and I'm Steve, and I'm the host. Tony, what are you planning on doing for the show?
We have a lot of awesome guests that we're going to be having on the show in the next couple of months. I think the show in itself is going to be really self-reflective on. We've been blessed to have a lot of people in our lives come to us that have a lot of knowledge and experience that they can kind of share with other people on how they can build a superior version of themselves. I don't think there's a single person that we don't know who isn't self-made that can't tell something to somebody else that they can't take and better themselves, either mentally, physically, or financially. So for me, I think it's an easy way for us to share that message and to help other people kind of get out of their shell if they're stuck in it, or find their direction if they're kind of at an impasse.
I'll add to that. So yeah. I think it's more than just fitness. Like, some people will be like, oh, that's another gym brand. This isn't just a gym brand. It's about what it takes to become better every single day. I don't care where you're starting. I don't care where you're going. Wherever you are, just become better today than you were yesterday. Don't make excuses. Everybody will tell you it's October. They're going to tell you in January, I'm going to get started. Why are you waiting till January? What's January? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you hit it on the nail. We are in a gym, but it's not a gym podcast. I think Basu is so much more than fitness. As a business owner and as a parent, I think there's so many different avenues that we can take to build a superior us. I think for me mentally, this has been one of my largest growth periods this year, by taking other people's knowledge and finally putting it to work instead of just listening to one thing and letting it go out of my other ear. Writing things down, taking it and implementing it into our daily lives. That's kind of what Basu stands for myself. And that's why I was really happy when you invited us into this. It meant a lot.
Exactly. It's going to be a journey. We're learning. We're growing. We're not 100 steps ahead of you. We're not multi-millionaires, billionaires like some of the people you follow. We don't have the greatest bodies in the world.
Yet.
But we're showing you from our level what it takes. There's people, it's hard to look at somebody who's 100 steps ahead of you and say, oh, I can't get there. We'll just take one step. And we're similar as the everyday regular person. And we're taking steps every day. So you guys take your steps every day. Together, we're going to learn from people we interview. We have a lot of connections. We're going to build connections through this show. We're going to take this and turn it into networking, meetups. No matter if it's just working out, no matter if it's business, real estate, we have connections, we know people, and we're going to build ourselves, and we're going to help build you together.
Yeah, I think the community that we build within Basu and with followers of the podcast is paramount. I think we're not here to sell you stuff. We're here to have continued growth across all facets together. So when we do a coffees and cars, or we do a meetup, or we do a beach cleanup, or whatever the heck we decide to do, and you guys are there with us, we're doing it as a group. We're all there for one goal, and it's just to really get better together.
Yeah, and I mean, they say you are who you surround yourself with.
Correct.
So sometimes when you step away from the guy going out every weekend, I've been that guy, you step away from that to going to the gym, to, studying, to becoming better, you lose your friends. And you need to find somewhere you can go to find people who are trying to become better, level up. And this is going to be somewhere you can come to. It's going to be a community. You see somebody wearing a Basu shirt, you're going to be like, oh shit, this person's my kind of person. That's what I really started and really was looking for growing.
And just so you guys know, Steve and I have a long-lasting relationship. We're not just two guys that kind of met up and said, hey, let's make a podcast with four guys standing behind a camera staring at us stoically. No, that's not what we're doing. We're brothers-in-law, so I am married to Steve's sister. And we've been in each other's lives for about 5 years. Very like-minded, very parallel paths. We're going to get into Steve's backstory shortly here, but when I kind of sat down at lunch with him and he was talking about this project, I really wanted to jump out of my seat and be like, hey, I want to be part of this. I want to help. But I kind of was like, yeah, it's awesome. I love it. And then he was cool enough to kind of pick up those vibes and offer for us to kind of find a way to make it coexist together. And couldn't be happier. So let's get into Steve's backstory.
So I'll jump into first where the Basu, our story that I told you. So it didn't start let's start this business, let's try and sell shirts and make a shit ton of money. It started because during the pandemic, after the pandemic, a lot of companies were pushing their agenda. They weren't pushing, becoming better. They were just pushing whatever messaging they wanted to push at you. I want you to determine who you want to be, become a better version of yourself. Also, support your country you live in. Don't be negative. Don't be a victim. We don't like the victim mentality. That's like the big thing about it. So we started going to stores, me and my girlfriend, who's also a part of the company. And we were looking for just regular shirts. I didn't even want to support brands anymore because all of the brands were associated with things that I didn't personally believe in. So you couldn't find any shirts. They also became like weird colors, oversized, this, that, and the other. Just having a fit shirt for someone who works out and wants nice clothes shouldn't be that hard. So it started with us trying to determine, hey, let's come up with our own brand that we just wear. Even if we just wear, who cares?
It's not offensive. It's a brand that, hey, you might not like the shirt he's wearing because it represents a brand that offended you in some way or the other. This is not a political company. This is literally, it's not even a t-shirt company.
No.
It's what we're doing right now is what this is about. It's how can we together make ourselves superior than we were yesterday. And then also, hopefully you, as an end user, can also do the same thing. So I wanted to get that out there. Like, we're not. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna say this, that, and the other towards us, that you're this, that, or the other. But it's just like, look, become the best version of yourself, and you're not going to be the person who goes after other people, who wants to attack other people. If you're worried about yourself, you're not going to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody can make a short and say whatever they want out of all these videos. It is what it is. So from there, it turned into what can we do that's kind of motivational to us, because we're both into motivational self-improvement, personal development. We came across Basu, B-A-S-U, Build a Superior You. Then we tried working on an emblem and one infinity. You have one life to make infinite progress. So it just really came well-rounded to us, something that we wanted to wear. I threw it at Tony. Tony loved it, and he ran and said, let's do a podcast. And then we talked about making networking events and building it from there. So this is where it all started. My backstory, should we start with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So my backstory, I went to community college for 2 years. I became a career firefighter at 20. I do that full time. I always did work on the side. I was always handy. I always did painting, remodeling work. From there, I moved into wanting to get promoted within my job. I became a captain, one of the youngest captains on our department at 26. From there,
this is a full-time fire department, guys. It's the real shit.
So on the side, I got into real estate. My dad has always been a painting contractor. He did some flips, and he said, hey, you want to get into this with me? We did a couple flips. I got my real estate license. We have a few rental properties, and I want to build that out too. So within all that time, I went from being just young, partying, trying to have a good time. So from there, that kind of led me into podcasts, to learning about business, learning about becoming, well, I would never went down the personal development rabbit hole, I guess. But eventually, I think through business and things like that, listening to different people, you fall down the podcast rabbit hole. And I think we both now throw them at each other all the time.
Left and right. I think it's like YouTube University, you call it, right?
Yeah.
If someone has something to say and it's something that we both feel is worthwhile repeating, we both send it to each other, which is nice. And sometimes it's the same shit.
Yeah, and cool. Sometimes it's hard to kind of feel bad for people now in this generation, because you can learn anything you want on YouTube. There's nothing that you can't really learn on there.
Infinite access to amazing people that have a really clear, concise, easy message to swallow. So if you're out there thinking that I don't know where to start, I mean, YouTube University.
YouTube it, Google it. You'll
how
get
to start making muffins or a podcast or whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's there for you to watch and learn.
Exactly. Yeah. So from there, I really went down that rabbit hole. It got me through 75 Hard. It got me to people like Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, just people who make you want to become better every day, and that's where Basu really came from.
Well, you touched on something I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So I've known you to be addictive. You've done 75 Hard how many times?
I've done it 3 times. Completely? The actual 75 Hard. Yeah. Now I'm actually going through the actual, because it's multiple steps and phases programs.
And what is 75 Hard, just in case people out there don't know?
So I can't give you the whole deep thing, but basically 75 Hard is a program about, it makes you become better. Like, you don't have, there's no way you go through this, actually do it, and don't change your entire life. The first time through it, so we'll go through what actually is in it first. So it's 2 workouts, one indoor, 45 minutes, one outdoor, 45 minutes.
Every single day.
Every single day. This is every single day you have to do all these things. You take a progress picture, and every one of these tasks, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and eventually you'll understand why you're doing these things. Because taking a picture of yourself every day, people are going to be like, oh, why am I taking a picture of myself every day?
I think it's important to create those habits. Even not the picture part if you're not doing that, but
I mean, you have to do it. It doesn't
habits.
matter. So a gallon of water you have to drink, and it's every single day you have to do these things. I may be missing something, but basically if you go to Andy Frisella's podcast, you have to read 10 pages a day and no alcohol. So the first time through it is what I learned. I wasn't even a big drinker, but I would drink, Thursday night, whatever, maybe Friday or something. You go out. I was dating at the time, so we'd go out for drinks and stuff. And the first time through it, I dreamed like 8 days in that I failed because I drank. And that's crazy.
I got to day 34, and I had to go to a wedding. One of my wife's best friends was getting married, and she pretty much told us, if you come to my wedding and don't drink, we're gonna have some words. So I was off the wagon. I was too afraid of her to not do it, and I haven't reattempted since.
But it really makes you realize like you can't make excuses for yourself, and you basically can always find an excuse. You can always
100%.
say you deserve something. I think
I copped out.
yeah. I mean that'll be another thing. Like we can go down a whole rabbit hole of why people feel like they're entitled to so much. Why are you entitled and deserve? Like I deserve that meal. I deserve those drinks. Why do you deserve it?
I mean, you're asking a question I can't answer because I'm one of the ones that said I'll take that drink.
Well, that's why I'm asking you. Actually.
Yeah, so I think I'll have to go again. I think the real reason I copped out was just because I didn't want to. I saw all my friends and some of my family at this party, and people who I've known now for 5 years at the time, and I'm like, I want to have fun with them. Not that I couldn't have had fun not having a single drink, but also I wanted to eat the food.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, I didn't work out twice that day. We drove from here to Philly, and though I could have, I didn't.
You found a way to make excuses, which I failed at a bunch of times. Yeah, I failed at a bunch of times, but I think that's like one of the things that people don't understand, that like you have discipline obviously in aspects of your life, and I'm not saying anything towards you.
No, I know.
Yeah. But like people will be like to me, "Oh, you're so disciplined. Oh, I don't know how you do it. I'm just not like you." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
But that's for me. I know a lot of people who've attempted 75 hard, and you're one of the few that have finished it and then also decided to do it multiple more times, coming out of there saying, okay, I like the end result of me doing this, rather than, shit, that was fucking hard. Thanks a lot, Andy Frisella. I'll take it. I'll do it once. I'll never do it again. So that's where I'm like, okay, that inspires me to be like, give it another shot. When you're absolutely ready, give it another shot. But I'm gonna be one of those guys that I don't know if I'm gonna be ready for a while. We just had a baby, so that's an excuse for me.
I was gonna say, so what do you have?
No, I own my shit. That's an excuse for me. We own 3 gyms, so I can always get the workout inside. But 75 hard, those first 34 days, I think we walked in a monsoon twice for our outside workout because working out in the garage didn't count as outside work. So I'm like, we're trudging through storms. It just wasn't for Tony.
Sorry, we did it at the same time, so I had the same weather conditions. I don't know why the weather is a thing.
Okay.
So in another phase, before we move off of the topic, so the only other thing about it is in phase 1, which is the next phase, you have to do a 5-minute cold shower. I think that is something that everybody should do today, all of you in this room. If you've never tried it, do a 5-minute cold shower. You turn that water, take your shower, turn the water to cold, set an alarm. I have a timer in my shower for 5 minutes because I'm a psycho. It had to be 5 minutes. I do 5:30 just to be safe. But
I don't mind cold. I love the cold water.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you go from hot to extreme cold to where my body turns red, like you would turn red too.
I'm just going to start it cold. I have to go from hot to cold?
Yeah, take your shower and then turn it to cold. But let me finish my point.
Yeah, dude.
So the point becomes, you turn that to cold and you want to get the hell out of there. Everything in your mind it brings you to that super uncomfortable zone that you go through all the time in life. You have somebody say something to you that you don't like, and you have all those thoughts run through your head. And this is where you have those thoughts, and this is where you learn to control it. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to show people, that like it's all about learning to control yourself, control your body, control your actions. Because everybody has the same abilities. We're at the end of the day, I hate to go this far into it, but we're just animals. Like I know we're like more domesticated and all that, but we're not that far off of animals.
Thumbs,
we have
toilets.
Nice clothes and we shave sometimes. Some of us don't, but like we're just animals.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving off of that, we'll move into your backstory since we spent so much time talking about me from the beginning.
I was born in 1986.
No, let's say from the beginning of starting. You guys have multiple gyms.
So my background always, as a teenager, I worked for my local YMCA. I started as like a floor coach, which is pretty much the person that I don't even check people in. That's get done at the front desk. I just make sure that people walk through a door okay without tripping, and then I pick up the attachments every 30 minutes or so and look busy. But I really like the atmosphere, right? So I think I was 14 when I started that job, and then by the time I was 17, they offered anybody who wanted to become a personal trainer could take an in-house 2-week-long seminar. And I'm like, I want to do that. I grew up boxing. I really wanted to teach some of the classes that I think that they needed, so I took that certification and started training out of the YMCA. I started running some morning boot camp classes. I did that for about a year. And really, I mean, I left there for a really silly reason, but it was probably the best thing for me. I was only getting like $14 an hour, and I was working like 50 or 60 hours a week between training, teaching classes, and I was a part-time locksmith at the time after high school. I had a kid in high school, so I dropped out. I went back, finished everything, went to college, all that fun stuff, but I was working young. So I asked for a raise. I was told no. I asked if I had a non-compete. I was told no, and I said, see ya. I walked across the street to the high school. I asked if I could rent the football field from 4 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning. They said they'd let me do it as alumni. And I was like, great. I got insurance, and I started teaching boot camps for people 2 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. I started with maybe 25 people that left the YMCA to follow me and do this, and we grew it to 200 people per class. So we had football fields filled with people towards the end of this, where it was just people. Our warm-up was a quarter mile of lunges around the track, and then we'd sprint it, and then we'd do suicides, and it was just 45 minutes of us beating ourselves to the ground, rain, snow, heat, whatever it was, we were out there doing it.
So you just bootstrapped it. You didn't worry about
Yeah.
forming this business and taking all the steps that everybody says have to be done before you can possibly get started. You can't just start.
I went to Home Depot and got pipe and filled it with sand and glued the caps and spray painted it and made fucking 15-pound barbells and like slam bars, everything. I showed up. It looked like a handyman's pickup truck, just full of shit, but it all had a use. So I started that company with, it cost me $99 to make the LLC at the time, and $100 at Home Depot, and just random bands and shit that I've acquired over time. And I was able to take it and say, okay, for these first 25 that were with me, it was more than enough for them. And then as we grew, we scaled. I was able to put some more money into it because I was making money by doing so. And it ultimately evolved with me opening my first brick and mortar. So I rented out a space out of a yoga studio that only ran classes at night. So I ran all my classes for their space, like 10 hours a day. And that was my first boot camp company. It was full boot camp. I didn't even do one-on-ones. And then the progression from there was I opened my first, it was called Hybrid Fitness. It was my first 3,000 square foot, fully built out space for myself, where it was a CrossFit space. It looked like a CrossFit space from the front. That's why we called it hybrid, because it was a mixture between functional fitness and straight training. And we just did daily WODs, or we did open gym. And I loved it. That business at first didn't make a shit ton of money. It made none. It lost money. And then
But you learned as you went.
I don't know, 100%. I learned what I was doing wrong by failing. And
falling on your face.
Yeah, you fail forward, right?
Yeah.
So I like that saying. You always fail forward. You don't ever start back from square one. You've started now a square ahead of where you just failed from, because now you know what not to do, which was an important lesson young, or else I wouldn't be doing this. From there, I went to law enforcement for a few years, between sheriff's department and corrections. Loved that job. It just wasn't best for myself. I ended up getting shot twice, and working in prison's not fun.
It doesn't sound fun.
No,
I never took that test for a reason.
It didn't suit
No offense.
It didn't suit my personality or temperament. It made me an angry person. I'm really a jolly giant.
I can attest that.
Yeah. And so I went back to what I knew best, and it was fitness. And so when I met your sister, who's now my wife, she had always said, I was the head trainer of a location that I was working out of down the street from where we lived. And she'd always said, I want to open a gym. So we were going to buy that gym. And somehow we ended up in Brigantine. I think she wanted to buy a condo. It was like on her bucket list. I want to buy a beach house. Came down, found this crusty old gym that was for sale, and we loved it. So we bought it. She quit her job. I quit mine. We sold my house and moved to Brigantine and went all in. Yeah, I mean, we were young at the time. We were 31, so there was nothing to lose other than our time. And I mean, we couldn't have made a better decision. Now we're 4 years. Today is our 4-year anniversary for buying a Brigantine and reopening that gym under the Wolf flag. And so that's kind of where we're at now. From there, we've opened 2 more locations. We're now working on licensing and franchising deals with other people, and hopefully just keep opening gyms that are fun and like built for people who want to work out. But they're also like, we have powerlifters, strongmen, bodybuilders, bikini people. We've got the average Joes. I want everybody to work out.
Yeah, I think a lot of gyms have like a weird setup and like try to please one group of people, where when I come in here as not somebody who helped design it or anything, it feels like it's for like anybody literally from the age of 15 to 70. It's just comfortable, it has good music, it has good lighting. It's just not all about one certain thing. It's not all CrossFit, it's not all boxing, it's not all powerlifting. Like nobody wants to come into a gym and have chalk everywhere in the gym if you're not somebody who uses chalk.
Right.
So like your gyms are clean. You guys have a good, stable, like whatever you're trying to figure out, it's working.
Yeah, we call it our wolf pack. It's our community. Yep. So we build a respectable community for everybody to enjoy the spaces, right? But what you said was, you can't you try to please one group of people. No, I don't try. We try to please everybody, but we go into it knowing that we're not going to please every single person. Yeah. You can't. Some people are just wired not to be pleased. You say, I don't like blue, so I paint it black. I don't like black. Oh, it should be blue. You just go back and forth with it. But as long as we do it in a respectable manner, and we keep trying to lift up the community, like we've got a lot of people who own their own businesses in this space, and if you come to us as a member of our gym and say, hey, listen, I own a vitamin shop or I own a dance studio, tag us and shit. I'll repost it for you. Grow with us. You're part of the community. It's more than just a gym membership to us. We want to see you out. I love seeing people in wolf shirts. I love saying, like walking through the grocery store and somebody yelling, "Yo, Tony." Or,
which
hey,
happens
Trish.
on the beach all the time, at the beach. Everywhere we go.
And that's like the beautiful part about these gyms being in such close proximity. It's like a triangle around where we live and all the people that we get to see out when we go out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a little bit of our backstory right there.
Now, what would you say was the biggest change that you had to make in Brigantine? Brigantine, when you bought it, it wasn't performing well.
Brigantine was in a failed state, yeah.
Okay. So what did you see that you said, you know what, I can go in here, I can make these couple changes, and I know that this is going to be a lucrative business?
At first, it was nostalgia. It was the gym. It was the basement gym that I grew up in, just on the second floor, and I was like, God, it was just so cool. It's all plate-loaded hammer strength. It was old. It was rusty and dirty, which that wasn't cool. We fixed that right away. But there was no database. There was nothing proprietary to what they were doing. There's no way to interact with people. There was no social media. There was no beach cleanups. There was literally nothing. It was just an old file Rolodex system, which worked for them. It just wouldn't have worked for us if we took the space over. So it had 100 members at the time, and so we cleaned it up. We put some new equipment in there. We got rid of a lot of the shit that was broken. We started advertising. We started offering free classes that kind of fit into the membership that we were kind of putting in play. And people just started coming back because there was a buzz. And then, honestly, we just got involved with the community. We started going to beach cleanups. I got on the beach committee so that we just were kind of entwined with what was going on. So one that we knew, because we were brand new here. We bought a house in August and bought a gym in October. We knew nobody. So it was really just a little bit of infrastructure, but a lot of love.
Yeah.
To not just the gym, but also the community. Which we still do. We're still a part of it.
No, I think you said, the point of any good business, especially moving forward, is going to be building a community, showing people you actually care, and working together to build everybody's success and whatever success they determine is their version of success. It doesn't have to be, being the biggest, strongest person. It could also be financially. It can be whatever.
Yeah.
Just working with them and helping people out.
And I think for Brigantine, we realized for the model in this market was you don't have to monetize every single thing. You can have a fair membership that allows you to include everything in there, so that you're not gouging the person or nickel and diming them to death, and you can still make some money.
Yeah.
We didn't get into the gym business to make millions off of a gym. It just doesn't happen with one gym. It's scale, right? So multiple locations, some profit margin in each one. They add up to a larger bucket at the end of the day.
Okay.
That's kind of where we were with that space.
So some of the things I wanted to get into is talking about the fitness app that you mentioned to me and that we're going to be offering through Basu and Wolf Fitness gyms.
Yep. So we have Wolf Fitness as an app through Trainerize, where we're going to be doing 90-day workout programs for free for anybody who wants to follow, subscribe, or be a part of the Basu community. We're not asking you for a dime. So what we do is we're going to have 3 different options for you based off of what you are, what you want to do. One's going to be for mass, so if you want to just get big and strong and scary looking, we got you. If you want to tone, tighten aesthetics, we can do that as well. Or if you just want to maintain your lifestyle, you want to go and have the dinner, you want to go and have the extra tequila, and you don't want it to be reflective in your body, then we'll have that for you too. All you have to do when we do launch this is click on our link that will be in our Instagram. It'll take you to our consultation page. You'll be able to tell us which one you want, and we'll auto load it up to your calendar. That's it. $0, free training. The nice part is you can take progress photos if you do decide to intertwine that with the 75 hard challenge, or we have some Basu 30 for 30 challenges that we're going to be coming up with sooner or later, which is like, let's say November 1st through the app. We want to say that your 30 for 30 is 30 days of 25 push-ups or 4 pull-ups or a quarter-mile run, whatever that is. You're going to upload that progress for us, and when we figure out who the quote-unquote winner of that is, if we do a scalable challenge like that, then we're going to send you some fucking clothes, and we're going to put the shit on your back. You earned it. But it's really just for fun. I want everybody to be moving. If you don't go to a gym and you want to be a part of this app too, we have an at-home workout that we can do for you as well, so we can make it so that every single person can be a part of this, which is 100% what
I think
we started this for.
Yeah, I think too, some people aren't comfortable going to gyms in the beginning, and they don't know where to even start, and maybe they don't want to get muscular, they just need somebody to push them to do some push-ups, to go for a walk or a run. And so I think that's a big part of it, and I think too, just talking about it and getting people behind the Basu community will make them realize, like, what did working out do for you? When did you start working out, and what did working out do for you in your life?
I mean, I started working out when I was allowed into the first gym to work out when I was 15. Before that, I played soccer and I boxed. I think what it did for me was it built confidence.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was necessarily lacking confidence, but I was able to walk into a room, and that wasn't even confidence like physically. It was more mentally. Like I walked into a room that I ultimately didn't fit in. I was 16 years old around a bunch of 30 and 40-year-olds working out. But I walked in there saying, like, pretty much, it was like my state of 16-year-old fuck you. Not like I was being rude or indiscriminative towards them being older than me, but it was just like, I'm here, I'm going to do what I want to do, I'm going to leave, I'm not going to bother you and your shit.
Well, I think too, older guys will also give you advice. Like, it's not as much now, because I think at times everybody has headphones in and nobody wants to interrupt people, and everybody feels like they're offending you.
Yeah, there wasn't
like
smartphones when I was 16.
when I started, I mean, you only had whatever the gym music was playing, and there was guys who would tell you, hey, try this, try that, and then they'd give you, good or bad, life advice, talk to you about girls, talk to you about like things that if you didn't have. I grew up with girls, I didn't have older brothers, so the dudes in the gym, it was like a community. They became exactly, it was me, my dad, and a bunch of girls. It was crazy. So you had that outlet too for hanging out with people who, they were trying to become better too. I mean, some of them may have whatever outside lives that weren't great, but they were still giving you advice and helping you build your confidence, and you were on the right path.
I think one of those old heads told me something that I've told my now 18-year-old son, and something that I'll tell my now 6-week-old son, is walk tall. So hold your head up high. Whether in a good mood or bad mood, don't slouch your shoulders, don't look at your feet, walk tall, fill your posture with confidence, because whether you're faking it or not, nobody else needs to know.
Yep.
They'll let you stay in your own lane, they'll do your own thing, just do what you're doing. That was actually a question I wanted to ask you, which is I'm just tracking along. I think there's a lot of people who are lacking in confidence, and I know what my answer is for what I think about that, and I'll ask you what yours is first. But like, if someone comes to you and say, Steve, I have low or no confidence, what should I do? What's your opinion for that?
I think it really just comes down to accountability. I think that's, if you don't hold yourself accountable to what you're going to do, why should anybody else respect you? Essentially, if you're not holding yourself accountable, then you don't respect yourself, and essentially, why should you get respect? When you say you're going to stop eating crap, when you say you're going to start working out, when you say you're going to study for that test, when you say you're going to apply for that job, and you don't do it, and then you don't do it again.
Right, well, that's on you.
But I'm saying, doing that over and over again, you're basically telling yourself you don't really give a shit.
Right.
You're just going through the motions of life.
Failure.
Exactly. So the more times you fail, what happens? So let's look at this opposite way. What happens when you do that workout, when you do feel good after? You want to do more stuff.
Well,
like everything,
your body makes you feel good.
Everything builds momentum. Life is literally just momentum. So every time you do one thing right, it turns into the next thing you do right. When you take 3 months and start working out and getting in shape and you see your little bicep grow, what do you want to do? You want to get a bigger bicep. You want to show everybody your bicep. That's confidence.
Yeah.
So all it comes down to, it's the same thing with reading and learning. I hated reading. I had to read to become a captain at my job, to get promoted. And so I read the books. I came out high on the list. And it was like, oh, I held myself accountable. I got what I wanted.
Right.
Why can't I do this somewhere else? And I took the momentum and I took it into real estate. And I'm still growing in that space. But you can only grow in a space once you decide.
In these spaces.
But it's an everyday action. If you took the first gym, decided, oh, I got one gym, I'm good, you would have been fine, but you wouldn't have built, you would have been comfortable.
Yeah, that was a comfortable question. Like, are we comfortable with what we've built here and the income coming in, that we don't have to do anything else? And I think complacency kills. I think, like, if somebody came to me with that question about confidence, I think my answer would be, get used to being uncomfortable. Put yourself into uncomfortable situations that you know, like, some people don't want to go to a gym, you were saying. Okay, I get it. If it's not a financial thing, then join the fucking gym. Go there. You don't have to talk to people. Put your headphones on, put on a hat, put on a hoodie, whatever it is. 99 out of 100 times, no one's going to bother you or say a thing to you, because they're all there doing their own thing. Like, we're all, if you're in a gym, no, people aren't just sitting there on the wall looking for people to pick on.
Let me interrupt you on that, because you're exactly on a point I want to say. You are the only person, you care about yourself more than anybody else. They care about themselves more than anyone else. You're the star of your movie. Nobody really cares. If you trip in the gym, nobody's paying attention to you. And if they giggle at you for a second, they don't care after. Like, everybody thinks that everybody cares so much about them. They really don't.
And most people aren't going to giggle. I think most people, not at least in the gyms that we have here, most people are going to come to your aid if they see you doing something wrong or getting yourself injured. So I think issues like that are few and far between, and I hope that that's the case for all the other gyms in the area. And if it's not a gym thing, and if the gym doesn't make you uncomfortable, then I think the next thing that makes you uncomfortable, if it's a dietary thing, okay, well, then get a meal prep service or start cooking for yourself and finding ways around being uncomfortable if diet is the issue. It doesn't have to be a globally scaled impact for you to be uncomfortable or to get confidence in something. It can be small changes across the board, 4 or 5 different ways that add up to one large change in your life or bettering your lifestyle, right? I think that you need to be uncomfortable so that you can acknowledge when you've surpassed your level of lacking of confidence in things. So if I'm unconfident today in my ability to work out in the gym or to go to a gym, but I force myself to go to a gym and I see small progress over short amounts of time or even long amounts of time, then I can check that off the fucking board of things that make me uncomfortable.
So then when you go into another space and you feel that discomfort, so you go into, besides gyms, you go into another business and you start feeling uncomfortable, you say, okay, I felt this before.
Well, confidence is a learned behavior.
All I got to do is do the same thing I did last time, which is just put my head down and work.
I think confidence is a state of mind, and I think it's a behavior. I am behaviorally confident in my ability to execute when I need to execute things, and I think when people get on that level with themselves, they find that next gear. Like, you're always doing something. So there is no fifth gear for you because you've surpassed fifth gear. Once other people find that state of being, the sky's the limit.
I agree.
I mean, that would be my answer for that. And I think that kind of mindset has played a large part of what I would consider my wife and I's success when it comes to the strata that we work in. Because my wife's a big vision board person. If it's on the board, I think we were just talking about this earlier. If it goes on the board, we make it happen. Because if it goes on the board, it's something that we've thought out and we both decided that this is something that's going to better our lives, like in our household, but also it's going to better the lives of the people that are now members of our spaces. So we build that community and we kind of water it and breed it and grow it to a spot where it's not just impacting our well-being, it's impacting the well-being of the people who we are,
and I think
members with.
People will say like vision board and think it's all spiritual, where it's really just another way to kind of hold yourself accountable. You look at this thing every single day and you're like, okay, I need to work towards that. Okay, I need to work towards that. Like, I have that, but I also live on, there's a book called The 12-Week Year. I don't know if I recommended it to you, I forget.
I don't think I've gotten to
so the 12-week year, you determine, what a few of your goals are, nothing insane, but you determine, say, 3 goals, and you write them down, and then every week you tell yourself what you have to do that week to accomplish that goal.
And you get it done.
And at the end of the week, you have to grade yourself. Every single week, you're grading yourself on how you did, and you have to be honest. So you may only get a 60% one week,
That was like the book you recommended to me, Your Next 5 Moves.
Exactly.
So, but you're doing it, you're compressing it into a 30-day window for yourself, right?
Yeah, so
But
every
for 12
week
windows.
you know, exactly. Every week you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're like, oh shit, I failed this week. Well, next week I'm going to do better. I'm going to accomplish these things.
So those are 2 great books. If you guys haven't read them, get on them.
Yeah, put them on the list.
Or audiobook, whatever you listen to or read. But Your Next 5 Moves will rechange if you're getting into business, or you want to get into business, or if you're in a business and you're stuck in a rut and don't know what to do. Or even not business, just in life. If you can kind of, by the way, if you guys can hear that, we're in a gym. Sorry.
Nothing we can do about that.
If you can play to your strengths and kind of gauge out what your next 5 moves are for each thing that you're doing, you're going to be ahead of the game when you get there. So that's a great book for you to read.
Well, yeah, it makes you realize if somebody's like, oh, I'm going to open a gym, like when you opened the gym, you didn't just open the gym. You made a list of things you had to do, did one thing at a time, and that's where people get lost. They're like, well, I don't know what to do because there's 10,000 things on this list. Just do one at a time, no matter what your list is, what you're trying to accomplish.
There's always 10,000 things to do.
Yeah, there always will be.
You can only kill that list by doing it one thing at a time, or building a strong team that you can delegate to. That's another way to get through a list. I think I have another question for you. Actually, I know I do. I'm looking right at it. What's your biggest fear? You're a firefighter, so don't tell me it's fire.
Well, the worst ways to die. If you thought of the worst ways to die, it would definitely be in a fire or drowning. And I am a fireman, and we also do water rescue. We're divers and all that. So those are definitely the worst 2 ways to die. So hopefully I don't die that way because it won't be enjoyable. But it'll be the last thing I do. So
but
if
those
it is,
aren't your biggest fears.
But those aren't really fears. Those are just you do the job and get it done.
Sucks if it happens.
I think the biggest fear is just not accomplishing what I should accomplish, not becoming like being on your deathbed. I've heard the saying, obviously everybody's heard it, but being on your deathbed later and saying, oh, I could have done this, or
Looking
just hearing,
and
just hearing 60 and 7-year-old people saying, oh, I could have done that, I should have, but like you didn't do it. And I don't ever want to be the person who says I could have done this if I just want to do stuff, and even if I look stupid along the way.
A good look on a deathbed.
No, that's the biggest fear.
Like, damn, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? Maybe I messed up. Maybe I shouldn't have started that business. Maybe I shouldn't have tried that. But I've learned more from the times I failed than any other times, and at least I know
failing forward.
I tried and failed forward. So I think that's definitely the biggest fear.
I like it.
What's your biggest fear?
I'm a family man. I have 2 kids and a wife. My biggest fear is just not being able to provide and support. And so if I can't do those things, and that's my role in our relationship, not my gender role, it's just what I've put on myself as my role. So if anybody out there heard that the wrong way, I apologize. But the role that I put on my shoulders is to make sure that 1, we make the vision goal boards work. 2, we grow our family and that they're provided for. And 3, I would really love to create a realm where I can create generational wealth so that my kids can have a step up from where we started from. Not saying give them everything and let them run with it, but I'm saying give them an opportunity.
I think even just insights, besides just money, learning more about how the systems actually work, how money actually works, instead of being a slave to a job. Because that's another fear of being a slave to a job forever, where you're stuck there and you can't leave if you don't like something. Like, your pride and ego should mean something. If you don't agree with what's going on in your job, you shouldn't be stuck there. But some people are, because they have to support their family, which happens.
And that's another rabbit hole we can go down on a different day. The 9-to-5 thing, there's nothing wrong at all working 9 to 5.
If you like what you do.
Even if you don't, you got to make a paycheck. But there's so many more hours. That's only 8 hours.
Yeah.
I don't want to preach to people, but you can spend 4 hours a day hustling in a fucking Uber after work, making extra money, or going on Etsy and hand knitting a kitten scarf. Whatever the fuck it is, there's ways to make money. So you're not chained to that desk when you're not at that desk. Most 9-to-5 jobs you don't take home with you. You still have so many more hours in the day to find another gear to fucking grind on. So yeah, I agree with that.
What part of success or business would you say comes down to luck or being lucky?
I'm a huge fan of luck, but luck gets you to the door sometimes. Like, I was very lucky to meet your sister. I was very lucky to find the gym that needed a lot of love in Brigantine. But again, that brought me to the door. You still have to do all of the work past that initial introduction to whatever that luck phase brought you to get from A to B. So yes, do I believe in luck? Absolutely. Does it do the job for you? No. You do the work. You 100% do the work, and if you can't do the work, either fake it till you make it, because sooner or later it will click, or you find somebody else who knows fucking more than you, and you bring them in to show you what to do, whether you pay them or give them a piece of the equity so that they have a stake in the game. Turn that luck into that next gear for yourself. Work for it. You don't just show up, get a turnkey facility, and say, I hope people show up. No, you got to work. So, but that's important.
I like the saying, luck is what happens when preparation meets hard work. Because everybody's going to tell you once you accomplish something how lucky you were. When I decided not to go away to school, it was, oh, you're going to be a loser, you're going to do this. And then 4 years later, while I already have a career, I'm established, making good money, already have a house, these guys are graduating, they're like, you're so lucky. Like, what the fuck? Where were you 4 years ago when you were talking shit on me? Now it's, oh, you're lucky. And it's just funny how you have to push through the really crappy times. And then eventually you reach that next level if you keep going and digging through the shit.
I mean, you're talking to a high school dropout. Yeah. And like, not that I loved school. It became a responsibilities question. Obviously my son was coming, and it was not going to be something that was going to fall to my family's shoulders. They made that quite clear, and I understand now why. But it was like shit or get off the pot. So I dropped out. I got my GED at first, just so I had a piece of paper, and then I went back to night school, got my diploma over time, and then I paid my way through college as I could afford it. Never took a loan out. Some semesters I would take 4 classes, some I would take 1, but it was always work. Yeah. I mean, it was always just, there was nothing easy about it, but you do it because you ultimately don't have another choice. Sink or swim when you're by yourself.
You do things when no one's looking, and eventually they look and we'll say it's luck.
So to look back on that, 18 years ago, he's 18 now. 18-year-old Tony was scared shitless and was hoping and praying people showed up for 4 a.m. boot camp so that he could go to his 8 a.m. job at Home Depot and then have somebody at their 6 p.m. boot camp so that bills could get paid. 36-year-old Tony, that's completely different worries and fears, but all for progress, all for moving forward still, all for the same things that I say are on my vision board. So yeah, man, I like that. Luck meets what?
Luck is what happens when preparation meets hard work.
I like it. Yeah, hard work's everything.
I think it's by Seneca, if I'm right. Stoic book for you.
I like it.
I think one thing I wanted to hit you on when we were talking about working out is, what do you think about, like, you always hear Tony Robbins say, get in a peak state. And when you first hear it, you're like, what's this guy talking about? It's all whatever. But I found personally through working out, once you finish a workout, your mind is on a different level. You are in that peak state. I mean, it may not be working out for you, but like, not you personally, obviously, I know it is. But for some people, it might not be lifting weights, but finding a way to connect to the better self, if it's meditation, if it's a walk, if it's whatever it is, hugging your kid, whatever puts you into that next level
Let's call
peak
that
state.
Whatever is your Basu.
I like that.
Seriously,
whatever it takes, whatever your Basu is, let us know.
State of mind. Let us know.
My Basu state of mind is literally going to the gym and getting a pump in, and after, I could read a whole book. I could accomplish whatever task I want to accomplish. I'll make a video that I know is going to be awful and post it, because you're in that state where you don't care and you're mentally alpha
100%.
And it's just flow state.
I just started, like I said, we had a kid 6 weeks ago, beautiful little boy, but our gym schedule, even though we have a little home gym built out, has been completely out of whack for both of us, obviously. But now that I have the ability to just get, and it's crazy, I get Tuesdays and Thursdays, I got 3 hours uninterrupted from 5 to 8 at one of our other gyms. Nobody's there that I have to train. It's literally just my headphones, myself. I beat the shit out of myself for 3 hours, and it carries me to Thursday, because I don't know if Wednesday is going to be a workout or if Friday he's crying and I'm not leaving. So those 3 hours for me set me up for the next. Sometimes I have to carry that energy for 2 or 3 more days, but I feel good knowing that that's something that I did for myself, because I got that release. I got to connect with myself either through a podcast or through music or through just sweating all over myself in front of the mirror lifting weights.
And it's not even about like the pump. I mean, the pump feels great, but that mental pump is even better.
Great,
and until you get to that point,
after that workout, I don't care that I have another 14-hour day ahead of me at the gyms. I don't care, because that's what I needed to get me through. So without that, I mean, I'll be honest, I am a grumpy bitch sometimes. Just I am. Long hours and no workouts make Tony grumpy. So now that we're getting those workouts back in, I'm less and less grumpy, which is nice. Accountability.
Okay. I don't think we actually asked the question to have it asked on the thing. What does Basu mean to you?
Well, that right there, that Basu state of mind comment, that's what Basu means to me. It's because when I get myself to that place, my wheels in my brain, it's not so much physically for me as I don't even hear what's in my headphones. I just know that it's there. My brain starts kind of, I want to say, vibrating on the same rhythm as everything around me business-wise. Okay, I know I need to do this. I know I need to do this. How do I get from A to B here? I know that we want to open more locations, and my brain just starts
It's a
thinking
flow
about,
state. It connects all of the dots for you.
And then it helps me bullet point the most important steps of progression for how I get from where I'm at right now to how I get to those next 2 or 3 or 4 gyms, or how we start LLCing or licensing out the shit out of the next 20 gyms, like whatever it is. I know that's my Basu state of mind. That's my boss. That's what it means to me. It's not so much about the physicality for me as it is about the connection with pretty much our vision board and how we get there.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Basu is a whole nother level of confidence.
Yeah.
It's about building a superior you. It's about taking yourself for complete ownership, having ownership of yourself, having ownership of what you want to accomplish, and actually taking the steps to do it. And when you do that, you'll become better each and every day. You'll build your confidence. You'll become better.
Yeah.
You'll be happier. And as you become happier, you spread that to the people you're around.
Yeah,
and
happiness is contagious.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's Andy Frisell says personal excellence, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we're all after. We're all after personal excellence.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. And I agree that people you have the ability to be infectious on somebody else, both in a negative way. It's super easy to fuck someone's day up with negative bullshit. It's way easier to help someone's day out with just a little positivity. Even if you're in a shit mood, not saying anything sometimes is better than being a grumpy motherfucker.
Yeah, sometimes a smile helps.
Yeah. So, if we can get more people on that same wavelength with whatever their grind is, you're just spreading good vibes all around. That's what I think. That's what I think resonates with me about what this project is.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a long journey, and I think we're going to have a lot of episodes, and we're going to have a lot of great interviewees
got some
coming.
cool
We
people
already
coming
have
through.
a
A lot
good
of cool
list
guests.
of people. We're going to go through becoming a better version of yourself.
Yep.
We have finance people.
Yeah,
What other
we
kind of people do we
we
have?
got some NFL people. I got a couple guys that I've worked with through the NFL. We have friends of theirs. We've got some VC guys who will help people if you want to understand how money works on a large scale. These are the guys that ask those questions too. So we'll be posing a lot of questions about that. We've got a few actors that are friends of ours. And
Yeah, as we do these interviews, we also are going to take some of the people and have networking events, because once you get into business, it's all about who you know. Everything's about who you know. So once we build this community out, we'll be able to meet up. We'll be able to do meetups, have drinks, have dinner, talk, and grow, and basically just make a whole community of people who are like-minded, who are trying to accomplish
100%. It's like
more
B2B,
stuff.
but with a cause.
Exactly.
It's about growth around, not just individually. But yeah, I think the guests will be fun because it's really a wide variety of people with so much important shit to say. We have a lot of small business owners too, some that are in our local community, some that are all over the place that they have really cool stories and a lot of really good insight as well. So we'll get them on here too. But yeah, man, not so shitty for our first one.
No. First one's in the books. See you
Yeah.
next time.
Later, guys.